I am Papa Joe, Joe Marquis, about Papa Joe.
Okay, and in Haiti, I'm known as Mom Linda. And it's a real honor to be Mom Linda because Delamy is the first person that called me that. And now I think everybody in northern Haiti calls me Mom Linda. I remember when we were sitting in Terre Blanche for 7 weeks in 2004 after a horrendous flood. And we sat there and there is nothing, there's no power, there's no potable water. And it's a long time to sit, and Joe and I had just retired, and so there we were. We're down there on a disaster relief team with MTI, and we began to think about the 20-some years that we've been doing short-term medical teams, 1 week a year, and it's not making any difference in the community. The people are still suffering from simple things like diarrhea and TB. It's things that can be treated. And so we had this dream, like, well, why don't we just start a foundation and build a clinic, and then they'll have health care. So when we came home from that trip, we actually went to MTI, Medical Teams International, and they said, build that clinic. That's what we like. We like to work with a permanent presence.
My name's Katie Thom, and I have the honor of serving as the board president for Haiti Foundation of Hope right now. I traveled to Terre Blanche in 2008. I am a nurse, and one of the callings that I had felt in my life was to be able to use nursing cross-culturally, and I did not know how that was going to work out. So that was my first experience getting to do that, and so far has been my only experience with Haiti Foundation of Hope.
Pastor Delmy Bazelme is one of the most amazing men that I've ever met.
After my first experience in Haiti, which was in September 1983, I went to Haiti as a reluctant team member. And within 48 hours, my life was changed from what I saw in dealing with all the difficulties that the Haitians had, but for another very important reason. I met Pastor Delby. He was a 23-year-old pastor when I first met him. This man had skills. It was obvious from the first time I met him. And I praise God. Every team I've ever been on in that area, Delmy was on that team also, every time.
If I were on an elevator and had to give a little quick thing, I would tell you that he is the most godly man. He can meet every obstacle, every problem in life with a different attitude than I have ever seen. He looks at it from God's point of view. He looks at it as an opportunity to see how God will work.
Now, the rooftop gives us an opportunity to get a really good view, 360-degree view of what has happened in Terre Blanche. It takes your breath away. There are churches, there are school rooms, there's a clinic, and other facilities. Nothing was there in the past. People would say, you are crazy to think anything can ever come from Terre Blanche.
Delamy has always said, we have a big God, we should dream big. Joe and I, we didn't dream big. We just had one little vision. But Delamy always had a bigger vision. And it's amazing as we stand on the rooftop now and we look, a new cafeteria. I'm going around the campus. A new cafeteria, a secondary school, 2 floors. Secondary schools in a remote place like Terre Blanche is just unheard of in Haiti. Then there's a dental clinic. There's a preschool for pre-K. Then over here, there are so many classrooms. There's classrooms for the women's trade school. There's classrooms for elementary school. There's a brand new big church. Before we started working, the gospel had not come to Terre Blanche. And now we've seen this huge new church be overflowing with worshipers of the Lord. And it's just thrilling. And then, of course, we have the clinic, and we have, now we have some housing for the clinic. We have a TV center, and it just goes on and on. There's a lot to see from the roof today.
Most organizations have what you would call a strategic plan. Haiti Foundation of Hope is no different. And we were entering a time where we needed to do a new strategic plan. And there was this year before 2020, if everybody can remember that. And 2019 was actually challenging as well for Haiti Foundation of Hope. We canceled 4 teams that year due to political instability and unrest in the country of Haiti. And that's a big part of our ministry, the relationship building aspect that we have of getting to go and to be in their community. Also, as a board, our founders, Joe and Linda, had been working over the last 3 years to train new leaders here stateside within our board, and passing on some of their responsibilities, and talking about a transition as founders to a new role within the board. Those are pretty big things for any organization to go through, and so we decided rather than to just do a new strategic plan, revisioning would be a great way to be able to give us some next steps and a bit more of a strategic grid to get to where we needed to go.
Well, I think re-envisioning is important. As we've talked about as a board, I think every organization at some point needs to stop and step back. And I know Joe and I have been leading Haiti Foundation of Hope for 15 years, but we're limited. We're limited people. We can only go so far. And so I think to step back, look at what we've done, begin to plan, to look at the future. We have a different place than it was 15 years ago. We've already talked about all the ministries and all the things that are going on. So I think it's a good idea. We have a new generation of people. We have students that have graduated from the high school and are in college, and so it's time to step back. We have to look at the leadership. Where are we going? And I think now we also have a bigger group of Haitians to be included in decision making. Where before, when we started Haiti Foundation of Hope, it was just Joe and I and Pastor Delamy and his wife, Elvira.
So we invited current board members, staff, and a few other key leaders within the organization. There were 15 of us that met over a 3-day period with a facilitator and had the privilege of being able to look back to see what God had done. And through that process of looking back, being able to see what God is doing now and how we can be a part of that moving forward.